Hare Krishna. Nice to see everybody here tonight. So this is, today we're going to start Prema-bhakti-candrika. With the sixth verse, we're in the section of Vaishnava Mahima, and we finished text 5 in our last session. So let's go ahead and start. Gora Graganya Gana Gocha Goloduharam Goranga Guritama Gopyada Kolpa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshikavaram Satatam Namami Utama Adama Kichuna Bhachila Jachiya Dile Kakola Kahe Premananda Emona Goranga Hridaya Dadiya Bola Bhaja Goranga Kaha Goranga Laha Gorangera Namare Jai Jana Goranga Bhaje Se Hoyamara Pranare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yashaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya Prema Vidana Parama Pamarta Tasmai Jagan Mangala Mangalaya Caitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Caitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Caitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavirapi Gopala Srikriyat Kripaya Jari Tadaiva Sambhaya Pitva Rishi Yustat Priya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunatha Brajabhava Pahimam Vancha Kolpataru Vishcha Kripa Sindhu Vyahevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I'd like to start reciting this first verse of Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur's Narottam Prabhu Ashtakam, the 8 prayers to Srila Narottam Das Thakur. So please we can recite together. Shri Krishna Namamrita Vashivaktra Chandra Prabhad Vasta Tamo Bharaya Gauranga Deva Anucharayaya Tasmai Namo Nama Shri Narottamaya. Again and again I offer my obeisances unto Srila Narottam Das Thakur. He is a true follower of Lord Gauranga Dev. The nectarian shower of the holy name of Krishna radiating from the moon of his mouth destroys the darkness of ignorance. So we're continuing from our previous session where we were reading. We just finished reading from Shri Guru Mahima, and now we're reading about Vaishnava Mahima. And in our last session, we read text 5 from Prema-bhakti-candrika, which I'd like to show here again on the screen and just meditate on this because this previous verse will take us to the next verse. Vaishnava Charana Renu Bhushana Kodiya Tanu Jaha Hoite Anubhava Hoy Marjana hoy bhajana sadhu sange anukshan agyana avidya parajoy. So we were hearing about how taking the dust, Narottam Das Thakur is speaking about in the beginning, worship of Guru and then worship of the Vaishnavas, in particular taking the dust of the Vaishnavas and how important it is for our bhajan. Marjana hoy bhajana sadhu sangha anukshana. If we're always doing sadhu sangha, then that will purify our bhajan and all the different ignorance and nescience that's found in our bhajan will go away. So many times devotees, they wonder how to advance in our bhajan. And probably the most oft asked question I've heard from devotees, even just yesterday, the day before, someone was asking me this: how can I become free from my material desires? And as we pointed out to this older devotee who knows that that's not the purpose of our bhajan, but it's something which causes pain in the heart of the devotees. So if we're always associating constantly with devotees, and associating with devotees, as we spoke previously, doesn't just mean physical association, but it means associating on the level of the heart. And if we're always doing that, then our bhajan will become purified, and very quickly, then agyana avidya parajoy will become victorious over this ignorance and nescience. So today we're going on to text number 6, and I'd like to put this on the board, and we'll be speaking a little something from Caitanya-caritāmṛta Thakur's commentary. Jaya Sanatana Rupa Prema-bhakti-rasa kūpa Jugala ujvala rasatanu Jahara prasadi lok Pasarila dukkha shok Prakata Kopataru janu. All glories to Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatan Goswamis, who are the reservoirs of loving devotional service, being the personifications of the highest transcendental mellows directed towards Sri Sri Radha Krishna. By their mercy, a desire tree has been generated in this world that can relieve the distress and lamentation of all people. Now, someone at this point may raise a question that what is the necessity, what is the purpose of glorifying Rupa and Sanatan Goswami here, when in the previous verse he's speaking about the glories of the Vaishnavas. Someone actually also may point out that in the beginning he also offered his pranams to Rupa Goswami, but that was in the Mangala-charana. And after the Mangala-charana, now he's begun his regular prayers. So our question now is, what is the necessity, the need of glorifying Rupa and Sanatan Goswami when he's already glorified the Vaishnavas? That's our first question. So he glorified the Vaishnavas by saying Vaishnava Charana Renu, but now he wants to specifically glorify the Goswamis. So he says Jai Sanatana Rupa. The phrase Vaishnava Charana Renu generally indicates all different Vaishnavas who are in Sakya Ras and Vasalya Priti and mādhurya-rasa, etc. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his commentary, he explains how this verse, by singling out Rupa and Sanatan from all the different Vaishnavas, he's and then pointing out about them that they're Prema-bhakti-rasa kūpa, that they're a well of transcendental mellows, and they're yugala ujvala rasa tanu. Their tanu means the body. They're the embodiment of yugala ujvala rasa, or mādhurya-rasa. So this is the special quality of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. And by this, Narottam Das Thakur is teaching us several things that in the beginning of our Nam Bhajan, in this Prema-bhakti-candrika, this is a kind of handbook for Nam Bhajan. In the beginning of our bhajan, we first offer obeisances to our Gurudev, and then we offer obeisances to the Vaishnavas. But then we specifically offer obeisances to Sanatan and Rupa Goswami. He gives Sanatan Goswami's name first, perhaps because Sanatan Goswami is the elder brother of Rupa Goswami, even though in his Mangalacharana, Narottam Das Thakur revealed to us his exclusive attachment to Rupa Goswami by offering prayers to him and not to Sanatan Goswami. But when we want to approach Rupa Goswami, it gives pleasure to Rupa Goswami that we give respect first to his elder brother. Sometimes we think that we're going to give pleasure to a Vaishnava by saying that Amar Guru, Jagat Guru, my Guru Dev is the greatest and everybody else, they're not good. That just causes pain to their heart. If you, as we sometimes comment, if you were to tell Krishna that Krishna, you're the supreme personality of Godhead and no one's greater than you, Krishna may cry because he gets so much happiness by offering his respects to all the elderly Brijbasis. He gets so much happiness by taking shelter of the lotus feet of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Baba. He likes to have elders. And that's the quality of a cultured person. They like that thing. And Rupa Goswami, he wants to have the blessings of Sanatan Goswami. Sanatan Das Thakur teaches us that we should approach Sanatan and Rupa Goswami in this way. And he gives us some reason for this. So I want to focus a little more closely on this verse. He says, Jai Sanatan Rupa. By using the word Jai, Jai means all glories or victory. So he's giving victory to our primary acharyas, Sanatan and Rupa Goswami, over all other acharyas. And he's also by doing so, he's giving some subtle indication by saying Jugala Ujvala Rasatanu to the superiority of what they're giving, which is this Manjari Bhav, sadhana, which is what Narottam Das Thakur is speaking about, or this Radha Dasya. In his Caitanya-caritāmṛta Natakam, 948, Kavi Karnapur has glorified Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis. We can put this verse on our board here and share it with you. He says, Kalena Brindavana Keli Bharta Luptetitam Kyapayitam Vishishya Kripam Mitin Abhisisi Chadeva Stataiva Rupam Cha Sanatan Cha. He's saying when, Kalena is indicating time. When will that time come? When this Braj Leela, this stories of Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes, when this thing had happened, when those stories of Krishna's Braj pastimes, due to time, had faded away, then at that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Luptetitam Kripayatam Vishishya, he gave a bath to Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. Kripam Ritam Abhishesicha. He gave an abhishek of Kripa to Rupa and Sanatan Goswami with the nectar of his mercy to bring that Leela out again. So Rupa and Sanatan Goswami are really our Sampradaya Acharyas. In some ways, even more so than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Although our Goswamis in their literatures, they refer to our Sampradaya as the Chaitanya Sampradaya. But we're especially the followers of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami because they've given this Krishna Leela, they've given us this goal of our Sampradaya. Rupa and Sanatan Goswami have no equals in Vrindavan. And just like the pole star, which is so very steady, and the pole star is that thing by which people navigate. So also we navigate in our bhajan by following Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, by following what they're doing, their sadhana, their bhajan, and how they're giving things up in that. Kaviraj Goswami has given a long description about the glories of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami in Madhya Lila chapter 19. And I'd like to share this with us today. and we'll do some reading and discussion about the significance of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami in regards to things here. So I'm going to go ahead and put these verses here, and maybe I'll go ahead and read the first two, and then I'll ask different devotees to read. Mahaprabhu Jatta Bhara Bhara Bhakta Matra Rupa Sanatana Sabha Kripa Gaurava Patra. And he speaks about here how Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis, they were the Kripa Patra, or the objects of love and mercy for all the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Keha Jari Deshi Jai Deki Vrindavana Tanna Prashna Korina Prabhura Parishara Gana. And if someone were returning to his country after coming from Vrindavan, the associates of the Lord would ask him questions. Kaha tahan kaichi rahi Rupa Sanatan, kaichi raha kaichi vairagya kaichi bhojana. They'd ask him, how are Rupa and Sanatan doing? And in particular, they'd ask, what are their activities in the renounced order? How do they manage to eat? These are the questions they asked. So why are they asking this question? Kaichi rahe, kaichi vairagya. What is their renunciation? Kaichi bhojan. How are they eating? Is that really such an important thing? How much are they sleeping? This and that. Well, we get some inspiration by hearing that, because as we were hearing, as Rupa Goswami, as Narottam Das Thakur indicated in the last line of the previous verse, that sometimes there's some ignorance which is tormenting our non-bhajan. So when we hear about the activities of the Vaishnavas, and even their bodily activities, because we're very much in the bodily concept, when we hear about their bodily activities and how Rupa and Sanatan are giving up everything to just do their nam-bhajan and serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it gives great, great inspiration. But it's not that we judge a devotee by that. And in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, 7th canto, I think so, we hear how Prahlad Maharaj, he met one sadhu who was laying on the ground, and he was very fat. And Prahlad was a little surprised to see him. How are you such a fat person? Sadhu's usually not fat. And he said, I don't ask for anything. I don't strive for anything, but I just take whatever the Lord sends to me. He's on a very, very high level. If the Lord doesn't send anything to me, then that's fine. I'm not bothered, because I'm only living by the mercy of the Lord. Or if the Lord sends so much to me, then because He sent it, then I accept it. And sometimes I become fat. So that pastime is there to help us understand that we don't just judge Vaishnavas by how much they sleep or how much they eat. But at the same time, it gives us some inspiration when we hear about Rupa and Sanatan Goswami's behavior and Srila Prabhupada's behavior and others. So, Gaunitai Prabhu, would you like to read the next verse now? Kaichi Ashta Prahara?
Yes, sure. Kaichi Ashta Prahara Karena Shri Krishna Bhajana Tabe Prashamsya Kahe Se Bhaktagana. The Lord's associates would also ask, how is it that Rupa and Sanatan are engaging in devotional service 24 hours daily? At that time, the person who had returned from Vrindavan would praise Srila Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis. Aniketa dunhe, vane yata vrikshagana, eka vrikshera tale eka ratri shayana. The brothers actually have no fixed residence. They reside beneath trees, one night under one tree and the next night under another.
It's kind of like you, Gaunitai Prabhu.
Pardon?
It's kind of like you.
Vipragrihe stula bhiksha kahan madhukari shushka rutichana chivaya bhoga parihari. Srila Rupa and Sanatan Goswami beg a little food from the houses of Brahmanas. Giving up all kind of material enjoyment, they take only some dry bread and fried chickpeas.
So the phrase here, stula bhiksha, which Prabhupada translates as full meals, stula literally means the body. Bhiksha means to beg something. So they were begging just what they needed for their sustenance, which is kahan madhukari. Sometimes it was just madhukari. They're doing like honeybees, and they're not troubling anyone. They're not causing anyone problems. I remember once one of my godbrothers, I happened to be with him when he went to see Guru Maharaj, and he gave Guru Maharaj, it wasn't such a large sum of money. I think it was something like 4,000 or 5,000 rupees. A nice little donation, nothing compared to what he was getting sometimes, lakhs and lakhs. But this devotee, my godbrother, was a grihasta. And when he gave that to Guru Maharaj looked at him and he said, "Is it okay? Can you do this?" And he said, "Yes, Guru Maharaj." He said, "Well, you're a grihasta, he said, "You're sure this is twice he asked him, "You're sure you can do this? You don't mind doing this?" No, Guru Maharaj. The devotee was like embarrassed. No, I really want to do this. And I appreciated very much. I could see in him the same principle that Kaviraj Goswami is speaking here about Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, about the nature of sadhus and nature of our Goswamis. They were doing madhukari, which means they weren't a burden on anyone. And because the Vaishnavas, they don't want to be a burden on anyone. They don't want to tell anyone about their problems or anything, because it causes them pain in the heart to think that they may trouble someone. Why don't you go ahead, Bhani Prabhu? Just wait a second. Let me look at something here.
Yeah.
Okay, Karunya.
Karunya matra hate kanta chinda bahirvasa. Krishna kata Krishna nama nartanan ullasa. They carry only water pots and they wear torn quilts. I don't know what is quilts anyway.
Quilt means a shawl, a chadar. Very, very old torn chadar in this case.
Yeah. They always chant the holy names of Krishna and discuss his pastimes. In great jubilation, they also dance.
Hi, Chandra Prabhu, nice to see you here. I guess he's in the airport, so he's on his way to India. You in the airport?
Hare Krishna. I'm also very happy that I can see you. I'm in Abu Dhabi now.
Okay, just don't become a Muslim, okay?
Yes, they are very nice people. Exactly. I have a little bad connection, therefore I stop video and will be hearing, and I am very happy that I'm with you and also.
Okay. Thank you. I won't ask you to read then or anything. It was nice to see you. I'm glad you were able to make it. I didn't think you were going to make it today. Let's see. Jai Gaur, would you like to read something now?
Yes, Prabhu. Is my connection all right? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. At the top here, Ashtaprahara?
Yeah.
No? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Ashtaprahara Krishna Bhajan Chari Dande Shayane Nama Sankirtane Seha Nahe Konadine. They engage almost 24 hours daily in rendering service to the Lord. They usually sleep only an hour and a half, and some days, when they continuously chant the Lord's holy name, they do not sleep at all.
Sure. It's so purifying to hear about the behavior of the Goswamis. Go ahead.
Mādhurya-rasa Shastra Karaye Likana Caitanya-caritāmṛta Shune Kare Caitanya-cintana. Sometimes they write transcendental literatures about devotional service, and sometimes they hear about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and spend their time thinking about the Lord. Ekata Shuni Mahantera Mahasukhahai Chaitanyara Kripa Yanhe Tanhe Ki Vishmai. When the personal associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would hear of the activities of Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis, they would say, "What is wonderful for a person who has been granted the Lord's mercy?"
So it's such an important thing that they hear about the behavior of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. You know? So also this word Jai, when Narottam Das Thakur is saying Jaya Sanatana Rupa, Jai also implies offering obeisances and lying at the feet of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. And he describes Rupa and Sanatan Goswami then as Prema-bhakti-rasa kūpa. And this is a very beautiful language that he uses. Every word, as Fakir Mambu used to stress with us, has some purport to it. Why is he, a question may arise, why does he use this particular language? The word kūpa means a well. A well is not very famous. Jaipur, you may have a well in your house, but it's not a very famous well. I doubt if even 10 people in Michigan know anything about it, what to speak of the rest of the United States or worldwide. But how many people know about the Atlantic or Pacific Ocean? Everybody knows about it. So if he's glorifying Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, why does he use the word kūpa? Why doesn't he say Prema-bhakti-rasa samudra? That they're just an ocean of Prema-bhakti-rasa. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments on this, and I want to be so bold to add a few things of my own reflections on this word kūpa. The word kūpa means a well, and by indicating a well, he indicates something very deep, literally. Well is something deep, but a well is something which is not mixed with anything else. The ocean has so much different water coming into it, but the Prema-bhakti-rasa kūpa, or the well of Sanatan and Rupa Goswami, that's pure. There's no karma, there's no gyan going into that. Moreover, there's the water of an ocean is salty water. It's not very sweet. It's not nice to drink. The water from a kūpa, there's nothing nasty or dirty going into it, whereas the ocean, there's sewage and so many different things going into it. And there's also a difference between the kūpa and a river or a pond, because a river or a pond, during the summertime, when it's very, very hot, they don't provide much satisfaction in terms of cooling. But the water from a well is very, very cooling. So Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, he says, they're Prema-bhakti-rasa kūpa. They're a deep well of Prema-bhakti-rasa. Now, kūpa has a few other meanings also. It means a well, but kūpa also means a cave. A cave is something like a guha or kūpa, where someone goes and they can get away from the outside material world. So this kūpa of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami is like that. Another meaning of the word kūpa, I find interesting. It's an old ship term for a kind of post to which a boat or a ship is tied to. So Rupa and Sanatan Goswami are Prema-bhakti-rasa kūpa. They're the post of that Prema-bhakti-rasa of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. There's the boat of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, which there's a nice song which is not coming to my mind. Kejabi, Kejabi by Guru, Kejabi by Bhava Sindhu Pai. He speaks about how Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu has a boat by which we can cross over the ocean of material existence. A song by Narottam Das Thakur, as I recall. So that boat is tied to Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. That boat is always moving. That's the nature of a boat. The boat takes us across the ocean. So the boat of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu carries us across the ocean, but then it comes back. It's a very wonderful thing. But still we're worried that when we go to get on the boat may start moving. It needs to be tied to something. So it's tied to Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. It's always coming back to their position. So Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, that boat is tied to them in a very deep way on both sides of the ocean. On this side, in the forms of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, and on the other side, in their forms, is Rupa Manjari and Labanga Manjari. So when Narottam Das Thakur is teaching us how to do our Nam Bhajan, he says we should pray like this. We should want the dust of the Vaishnavas. But then out of all the Vaishnavas, we get special mention to Rupa and Sanatan Goswami because of Prema-bhakti-rasa kūpa. Rupa Goswami has given us so much. Rupa Goswami composed the Bhakti-rasa-mrita Sindhu, the ocean of Bhakti Ras. But even more elevated than that book is his Ujjwal Nilamani, because in Ujjwal Nilamani, he only discusses Sringara Ras. And one amazing thing about Ujjwal Nilamani, he hasn't written anything in Ujjwal Nilamani about sadhana. Ujjwal Nilamani is not a book about sadhana. Ujjwal Nilamani is a book which speaks about sadhya. And it's something, if we take shelter of Gurudev, of a bona fide guru, and we read these books under their guidance with faith, then gradually this understanding of these topics will come to our heart. So Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur also explains in his commentary about the meaning of Prema-bhakti-rasa kūpa, that Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, when he describes them as being, what's the phrases, Ujjvala, Yugala Ujjvala Rasatanu. He says they're the embodiment of this Ujjvala Rasa. And so by mentioning that Ujjvala Rasa, Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur in his commentary says he's indicating in a passive way all the other different rasas. And then Vishwanath in his commentary, he speaks about the 5 different types of rasas, which I'll go ahead and post this on our discussion here from Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur. Something we all know, but Vishwanath gives a little indication of each one of them. He says that Shanta Ras, each one of these rasas has a particular characteristic. Shanta Ras is characterized by Nishta, if someone's very fixed. Dasya Ras is characterized by Seva. And Sakya Ras is characterized by Bihar, some friendly exchanges. Vatsalya Priti, Vatsalya Ras is characterized by Sneha, someone nurturing Krishna. And Mādhurya Rasa is characterized that the gopis, they offer their bodies to Krishna. So these are the 5 different types of bhakti ras. But Narottam Das Thakur, he's saying Jugala Ujjvala Rasatana. Out of all these different types of rasa, that Jugala, I mean, we have this phrase Yugala Kishore. The Yugala means the 2 of them. So in this case, Sanatan and Rupa Goswami. Yugala Ujjvala Rasatanu, that they're the Tanu. Tanu means the body, the embodiment of this Yugala Ujjvala Rasa. So I want to go now to Madhya Lila chapter 19, which is the teachings of Mahaprabhu Sanatan Goswami. And he speaks there about these different rasas and different levels of these rasas. It goes very nicely with the commentary of Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur. And I'd like to ask if Siddha Hari Prabhu could share something. Siddha Hari Prabhu, has Jai Gaur been feeding you?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah? And he's being nice? No complaints about him or anything?
Complaints, Prabhu. It's been too much sweet. I may have diabetes pretty soon.
Oh,
I'm already diabetic.
We have to go to a dentist or something. Anyway, if he's like rude to you or anything like that, just send us a note or something. We'll deal with him. Let me post this on the screen here. And Siddha Hari, maybe you can read something to us.
Svarga moksha Krishna bhakta naraka kari mane Krishna nishta trishna tyaga santera dui gune. When a devotee is situated on the platform of Shantaras, he desires neither elevation to the heavenly planets nor liberation. These are the results of karma and jnana, and the devotee considers them no better than hell. A person situated on the Shantaras platform manifests the 2 transcendental qualities of detachment from all material desires and full attachment to Krishna.
So exalted is Shanta Ras. It has these two amazing qualities, Krishna Nishta, Krishna Tyaga. They're completely attached to Krishna and are detached from all material desires. So we can think about this when we're complaining about, oh my God, I have these material desires, and I want to become free from that. We should think carefully, what is our aspiration? Do we really want to just come to the point of Shanta Ras? Why don't you go ahead, Prabhuji?
Ei dui guna vyape sabha bhakta jane akashera shabda guna yena bhuta gane. These two qualities of Shanta state spread through the lives of all devotees. They are like the quality of sound in the sky. Sound vibration is found in all material elements.
So now Kaviraj Goswami is pointing out that these two qualities, Sabha Bhakta Jani, they're found in all the different devotees. He's going to speak now also about Dasya Ras and Sakya Ras and Vatsalya Priti Mādhurya-rasa. And so these two qualities of Shanta Ras are also found in these other rasas. Go ahead.
Shantera sabhava Krishna mamata gandhahina Parama Brahma Paramatma Jnana Pravina. It is the nature of Shantaras that not even the smallest intimacy exists. Rather, knowledge of impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma is prominent.
So this phrase, Prabhupada, it's interesting how he translates to the smallest intimacy. Mamata is a very deep word, and we spoke about this quite a bit before. It's an important concept in Madhya Lila chapter 8, in the conversation between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy, where he speaks so much about the exalted qualities of different devotees, but he's speaking about devotees in Shantaras, and there's no mamata. Mamata means a sense of possessiveness, a sense of ownership. A girl, when a boy and a girl, they like each other, they go out on a few dates, that's kind of nice, but they have a title for that. They say, I'm dating this person. And they may have a title for the person as my date. But then at a certain point, the boy may ask the girl, will you be my girlfriend? Let's go steady. And then they have a different title for that boyfriend. And he says, he's my boyfriend. And she's my girlfriend. And that sense of possessiveness is important in rasa. And we find that in all different rasas. And I'm giving some mundane examples, but our Goswamis said that these different rasas are also present in this world in a perverted way, but we can understand something about transcendental rasas in an indirect way through them. So all of these different rasas have this mamata, the sense of possessiveness. A mother will say, it's my child. The child will say, it's my mother. Someone will say, it's my guru. The guru may say, it's my disciple. This possessiveness is there, and we feel happy about that. The boy feels happy when the girl says, he's my boyfriend. Or the disciple feels happy when guru says, this is my disciple. They belong to me. So that mamata is very important. But the nature of Shantaras, Shantara Swabhav, the quality of Shantaras, is that Krishna mamata gandhahina. Gandha means some fragrance. Gandhahina, there's no fragrance, not even a whiff of fragrance of this mamata there. Rather, there's all kinds of gyan prabhina. There's a prominence of knowledge, understanding about the Lord as Brahman and Paramatma. Why don't you read one more, Prabhuji?
Kevala sarupa jnana haya shanta rase Purnashvarya Prabhu Jnana Adhika Haya Dasya. On the platform of Shantaras, one realizes only his constitutional position. But when one is raised to the platform of Dasyaras, he better understands the full opulence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So, Kevala Swarup Gyan, when someone is on Shantaras, they have some knowledge about the position of themselves, but they don't understand so deeply about Krishna. But when someone comes to the platform of Dasya Ras, then they understand something deeper about the Lord. Just like we see this in our relationships too. Someone is coming to Gurudev and they're, oh, Maharaj is a Mahabhagavat, and they're shaking and they're nervous and they're like that. And that's kind of Shantaras, and they can't even think about having some kind of relationship. But as they become purified and they come to a little higher platform, then they begin to understand that sadhu and what that sadhu likes, how to serve that sadhu in a more intimate way. So that's the beginning of Dasyaras. And Leela Purushottam Prabhu can speak something to us about that. You want to read something, Prabhuji?
Krishna.
Ishvara Gyan.
Ishvara Gyan Sambrama Gaurava Prachura Sevakari Krishna Sukhe Dana Nirantara. On the Dasya-rasa platform, knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is revealed with awe and veneration. By rendering service unto Lord Krishna, the devotee in Dasya-rasa gives constant happiness to the Lord.
So, on the platform of Dasya-rasa, there's this sambranda gaurav, there's this sense of awe and reverence. But as the devotee begins to offer worship to the Lord and meditates on the pleasure of the Lord, Seva Kori Krishna Sukh, what is the Sukh, the pleasure of the Lord, the Dena Nirantara, constantly doing that, then he begins to understand something deeper. Yeah, go ahead.
Shantira dasya che adhika sivan ataiva dasya rasir edu guna. The qualities of Shantarasa are also present in Dasya-rasa, but service is added. Thus, the Dasya-rasa platform contains the qualities of both Shantarasa and Dasya-rasa.
Go ahead.
Shantira guna Dasya sivan sakya duihoi Dasya sambrama gaurava seva sakya vishvasmai. The qualities of Shantarasa and the service of Dasya-rasa are both present on the platform of Sakya-rasa. On the platform of fraternity, the qualities of Dasya-rasa are mixed with the confidence of fraternity instead of awe and veneration.
Actually, we won't get into it here, but Dasya-rasa or Sakya-rasa has two different types. There's Sambrama and Visrambrama, when someone is very intimate with the Lord and someone's full of awe and reverence. And examples are given of Hanuman and Jambavan, how they're serving the Lord, but there's some awe and reverence here, especially with Jambavan and some of the other associates of Lord Ramachandra. But in Braj Leela, the Sakya Ras has no sense like that. Go ahead, Prabhuji.
Kande chadai kare kridaran Krishna seve Krishna karai apane sivan. On the Sakya-rasa platform, the devotee sometimes offers the Lord service and sometimes makes Krishna serve him in exchange. In their mock fighting, the cowherd boys would sometimes climb on Krishna's shoulders and sometimes they would make Krishna climb on their shoulders.
Go ahead and read some more.
Vishramba pradhana sakya gaurava sambramahina ateva sakya rasera tina gunachina. Awe and veneration are absent on the platform of fraternity, since this rasa is predominated by service imbued with confidentiality. Therefore, Sakya rasa is characterized by the qualities of three rasas.
One more.
Mamatadhika Krishna Atma Samagyan Ateva Sakya Rasir Vasha Bhagavan. On the platform of Sakya Rasa, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is controlled by the devotees who are intimate with him and think themselves equal to him.
So this is an important point. So when this mamata, which we were just speaking about, when it increases, and the word here is used adhika, we have the word adhikar, someone's possessing a particular quality or particular qualification. Mamata adhika, when that increases, Krishna Atma Samagyan, they have this understanding that Krishna and I were the same. There's no difference between the two of us. Jaigor, do you want to read some more?
Yes, Prabhu. Vatsalye Shantaraguna Dasira Sevana Se Sevanera Ihan Nama Palana. On the platform of parental love, the qualities of Shantarasa, Dasya-rasa, and Sakya-rasa are transformed into a form of service called maintenance. Sakyara Guna Asankocha Agora Vasara Mama Tikye Tadana Bhartsana Vyavahara. The essence of fraternal love is intimacy devoid of the formality and veneration found in Dasya-rasa. To a greater sense of intimacy, the devotee functioning in parental love chastises and rebukes the Lord in an ordinary way.
Keep going.
Apadmare palaka jnana, Krishne palya jnana, chari gune, vatsalya rasa, amrita samana. On the platform of parental love, the devotee considers himself the Lord's maintainer. Thus, the Lord is the object of maintenance, like a son, and therefore this mellow is full of the qualities of four rasas: Shantarasa, Dasya-rasa, fraternity, and parental love. This is more transcendental nectar.
Siddhari Prabhu, do you want to read some?
mādhurya-rasa Krishna nishta seva tishaya sakhera asankochana lalana mamta dikaya haya. On the platform of conjugal love, attachment for Krishna, rendering service unto him, the relaxed feelings of fraternity and the feelings of maintenance all increase in intimacy. Kanta bhave nijanga diya karena sevana ataiva madhurya-rasa rahaya panchaguna. On the platform of conjugal love, the devotee offers his body in the service of the Lord. Thus, on this platform, the transcendental qualities of all five rasas are present.
Read the purport too.
Prabhupada's purport: attachment for Krishna in Shanta-rasa, rendering service to Lord in Dasya-rasa, rendering relaxed service in fraternity, and serving in parental love with feelings of maintenance, all combine on the platform of conjugal love, when the devotee wants to serve the Lord by offering him his personal body. Thus, the qualities of the other rasas combine to form the nectar of conjugal love. On this platform, all the different feelings of a devotee are amalgamated.
So the phrase here is nijanga diya, that they offer their own body to Krishna. We have quite often a mundane understanding of the different rasas. So studying a section from Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, I think, is very helpful for us to understand the glories of Shanta-rasa and how all the qualities of Shanta-rasa are found in Dasya-rasa, all those qualities again are found in Sakya-rasa, all those again are found in Vatsalya-priti, and then all those again are found in mādhurya-rasa. So Kaviraj Goswami then he says, Akashadi guna jaina pada bhute eka duitina chari krami pancha prativiti. That just like all the different qualities, all the different elements, beginning with the kash adi, all the material qualities evolve one after another in the material elements from ether going on. And by gradual elevation, first one quality develops, and two qualities develop, and three, then four, until all five qualities are found in the earth. And so similarly, on the platform of conjugal love, all these feelings of the devotees are amalgamated. And that's a very, very wonderful thing. So Narottam Das Thakur is describing Rupa and Sanatan Goswami as on this wonderful platform, that they're Jugala Ujjvala Rasa Tanu. They're the embodiment of this Ujjvala Rasa. And so by speaking about this Ujjvala Rasa, which is Prema-bhakti-rasa kūpa, this is the deep well of nectar, he's indicating in an indirect way all the other different mellows, and how mādhurya-rasa is the best of all the different mellows. And within mādhurya-rasa there's also different categories, which Rupa Goswami has spoken about in his Ujjwala Nilamani. And from an understanding, a scientific understanding that he gives, Radharani's party is the best. They're the most glorious. And therefore, in their writings, Rupa Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, they've emphasized the glories of becoming a palyadasi, or servant of a maidservant of Srimati Radharani. And this is our goal. And so he's, by describing Rupa and Sanatan here, Jaya Sanatana Rupa, Jaya, all glories to them, means they've defeated everyone else. How have they defeated everyone else? Because they're Prema-bhakti-rasa kūpa. They're a well of Prema-bhakti-rasa, meaning the pure rasa, not mixed with anything like ocean water, and not salty, but very, very sweet and cooling, unlike a lake or a river might be. They're Jugala Ujjwala Rasatanu. They're the embodiment of this Jugala Rasa. And so he's indicating in here then the glories of this Manjari Bhav Sadhana. Now, there's a famous verse that some of you may be familiar with from Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, from his Vilap Kusa Manjali, which I'd like to share. He says, Padabjayastava vina vadadashyameva nanyat kadapi samaye kila deviyache sakyayate mama namostu nityam dasyayate mama rasostu satyam. He says that, hey Srimati Radharani, you're my goddess, you're my everything. And what am I praying to you for? I'm not approaching you for anything else. He said, even I don't want to become your Sakhi. Sakyayate mama namostu nityam. You may offer that to me. You may say, oh, would you like to be my friend? And you can come and stay with me and we can have pastimes with Krishna. And Raghunath Das Goswami, who's Tulsi Manjari, he Namostu nityam. He says, I always offer my obeisances to that. Or I always offer my obeisances to those Sakhis of Srimati Radharani, who because they're the intimate associates of Radharani. And I'm offering my obeisances to them because I'm their servant. He says, what I really want is dasyayate, mama rasostu satyam. This is the thing that I really want. My fixed consciousness, my fixed mind is that I want to be a maidservant of your maidservants. This is my desire. And so Narottam Das Thakur, he's describing this indirectly about Rupa and Sanatan Goswami by calling him Yugala Ujjwala Rasatanu. So we should understand the amazing position of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, and that by their mercy, Jahara Prasade Lok, we can put this verse again on the board here so everybody can see. And we'll go ahead and finish. So we'll finish again here. Jaya Sanatana Rupa. So all glories, or indicating that Sanatan Rupa Goswami, amongst all the Vaishnavas, they're very special by saying Jai. They're Prema-bhakti-rasa kūpa. They're Jugala Ujjwala Rasa Tanu. They're the Tanu, the embodiment of this Ujjwala Rasa. And Jahara Prasade Lok, by this mercy of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, Pasarila Dukkha Shok, all living entities can become free from their distress and their lamentation. Prakata Kalpa Taru Janu. And by their mercy, this Kalpataru tree is manifested in this world. What is that Kalpataru tree? That's the bhajan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this mādhurya-rasa, in this Manjari Bhav mood, for the Yugala Ujjwala Rasatanu. What is a necessity in this last line I'd just like to touch on? of saying dukkha shok. Duk means unhappiness or suffering, and shok means lamentation or unhappiness. The two words are kind of synonymous of each other. Now you may think that Narottam Das Thakur, maybe he's not such a good poet, he couldn't figure out another word, and therefore he just threw in this word shok. We shouldn't think like that. Narottam Das Thakur is a genius, and each and every word has unlimited meaning. So pasarila dukkha shok, that pasarila, he's taking away all the different duk, first of all, the different unhappiness of the living entities, all the material desires which cause so much suffering in this world. But then he also mentioned shok, the lamentation, because why does he mention both things? Because even if our distress, our anxiety is taken away, our suffering is taken away, then still we may be lamenting. And the example is given in the Mahabharata of Karna. Karna was approached privately by Krishna and by Kunti Devi, who both revealed that actually Karna was the eldest son of Kunti, and that Karna could become, he was senior to Yudhishthira, and he was actually the rightful emperor of the world. And they revealed this to him, and they said, look, now you can stop the war. And if you don't stop this war right now, then everyone's going to die. And your dear friend, Duryodhana, is also going to die. You can stop everything, and you'll become the emperor, and all the Pandavas will offer their respects to you. But he refused. And why did he refuse? Some commentators have explained because he was attached to this lamentation. He was attached to people feeling sorry for him. Karna was. That he was attached to that I was abandoned as a baby. Nobody treated me nicely. Nobody gave me respect. The Pandavas weren't nice to me. Bhima was always very rude and obnoxious and things. And they treated me just like the son of a chariot driver and that. And he had this chip on his shoulder. Sometimes in our bhajan, we have some attachment to lamentation, to shok. And therefore Narottam Das Thakur is indicating this here, that by the mercy of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, Jahara Pashadi Lok, on all living entities, Pasarila Dukkha Shok, all of our suffering will go away. And Rupa Goswami in Bhakti-rasa Sindhu, he says this is the first result of practicing bhakti, kleshagni shubhadam moksha lagutakrit sadurlabha, that the first thing is kleshagni, that all types of suffering goes away as soon as we begin to practice bhakti. So that's no problem. But this other thing may also be there, that we may have some attachment to feeling sorry for ourselves, to getting some pity on that. So Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, by their mercy, even that is driven away, because we become so ecstatic, we become so hopeful when we hear about Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, because they're prakata kalpataru janu. They've established this kalpataru tree, this wish-fulfilling tree of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is our verse today, and I'm going to go ahead and stop there. And it looks like Ujjwala Rasiga has given some comments here. I'm going to go ahead and read those. I think she's already gone, but maybe she'll watch this later. I don't know. She said, Vaishnavas don't tell about their problems to anyone because they don't want to burden others. Could you elaborate on that, Prabhu? There's some verses in Caitanya-caritāmṛta when it's in the section, I can't remember the chapter, where Kaviraj Goswami speaks about the Tanadapi Sanicchena verse. And he says that the nature of a Vaishnava is that they don't want to take anything from anyone else. They don't want to be any trouble for anyone. Because, and why, if they don't want to be any trouble for anyone, then why do they accept anything from anyone? Well, because also if a Vaishnava offers something to us with love, then we should accept that. We have to accept it. It's wrong to reject it. It's wrong to not accept it. But we don't want to accept something which is going to cause someone trouble. And therefore we see the example of Raghunath Das Goswami, how his father was sending so much money by which he was able to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and cook for him regularly. But at a certain point he refused that because this is not good. Maybe I'm being a burden on my father, but aside from that, I'm also being beholden to him then. If I take too much charity from one particular person, then maybe that person is going to control me, and then I can't speak the honest truth. So this point is there. And she goes on, she says, constant association with the sadhu and vani and their loving mood will get rid of our anarthas and miseries. No need of bewilderment caused by anarthas, no confusion about how to be rid of the anarthas. After all, our process is about artha prabhiti, prema-bhakti, not anartha nibritti. This will happen anyway. Got to go, thanks so much. Amen. And Hari Chandra Prabhu, we also just lost him, but he has to go on board his flight. So, let's see. Gorni Taipa, would you like to share anything with us today? It's really late for you too. For Gorni Taipa, Prabhu, everybody should know right now it is 10:30 at night. Past his bedtime. Go ahead, Prabhu.
I cannot sleep when this so nectar is flowing. It's like a different word here. So I have to force myself to sleep many times because so many nice devotees are here. I don't want to miss anyone's association, yours also, others also. So it's just natural that I cannot sleep. And this topic is also very important, very nice. How you put together this explanation of how we see Rupa and Raghunath in a deep way, how we get their full blessings, because yes, they are, as you mentioned, that they are giving a shelter for everyone, but not everyone understands the deep special mercy of getting this vaishnava-rasa, getting this highest goal. So it's beautiful that you explain that for us, and we can meditate on us, and then we can try the best to go for it. Also, we have no hope for that, but still, you give hope because you just focus on that ultimate path. So thank you very much. That's my reflection. That's, yeah, as you mentioned, that devotees generally don't understand these rasas. They learn it a little bit, but because they don't. I also amazed. I'm also wondering that how I don't remember that all these descriptions are here in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta. Also, I read a few times, but I just forgot.
We did a lot of reading today, but I thought this was a nice thing to illustrate the point that Das is making.
I have some not questions, but a kind of some comments that in this description of different rasas, I see that there are some difference between general devotees who get these rasas and the devotees in Vrindavan. For example, the cows definitely have the Shantarasa, but still they are also mothers, and they feel that Krishna is theirs. So I think that in Vrindavan there is some, yeah, please.
This is such a nice topic. It's a topic of controversy. Srila Prabhupada sometimes says that the animals and the trees and Braj are all in Shanta Ras. But some other Vaishnavas have protested that, well, this is Madhurya Mayu, it's the place of Madhurya Ras. So Madhurya Ras is pervading everything. And we see even in the case of the cows are also assisting the Madhurya Ras, perhaps even knowingly in some ways. But their milk, the gopis are taking and cooking into sweets and things for Krishna. It's by the cows that Krishna's going out to herd the cows every day, that he goes to meet with the gopis in different places. And sometimes our acharyas have described that Radharani dresses up like a cowherd boy, and she goes out with Krishna and the cowherd boys to herd the cows with them. So those cows serve a very special feature. They're not ordinary. If they are some Shanta Ras, and certainly it seems there is some aspects of Shanta Ras there, it's not like Shanta Ras in Vaikuntha. That's for sure. And the same with the trees. We could make similar examples too.
Yeah. Another thing that you mentioned, that the last one is the Madhurya, the Shringara-rasa, when devotees are giving their bodies. But then you mentioned that the highest is the Manjari Baba, but Manjaris doesn't give their bodies. They refuse when Krishna asks them to come and have some fun. They refuse. They say, no. So can you explain that? How is
those Manjaris? They're giving their bodies, but they're giving their bodies even in a different sense. They're not identifying themselves as a female. They're identifying as a female, of course, but they're not putting themselves there for Krishna's enjoyment in that way. Rather, they're just serving as a Palyadasi of Radharani. They're serving Lalita, Vishaka, or one of the other different Sakis. Maybe they're serving under Rupa Manjari. And they're giving their bodies by doing everything for Rupa Manjari in a similar way. And they're so intimate with Srimati Radharani that Rupa Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami have described that whatever Radharani is experiencing, they're also experiencing. And that's a very, very amazing thing, because just as Krishna, he's, what's the phrase? He's, no one's equal to him, he's asamurdva. No one's equal to him, no one's greater than him. So also Srimati Radharani, in terms of servitorship, no one is equal to her, no one's greater than her, no one can experience what she has. But paradoxically, the Manjaris are experiencing that. So they've given their bodies, they've given their whole consciousness, they've given everything to Srimati Radharani. And it's actually that the Manjari Bhava, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, partly what he wants to taste. He wants to become a maidservant of Srimati Radharani. It's not just that he wants to become Radharani or like Radharani, but he wants to serve Radharani. He wants to know what those Manjaris are, that they're like. And so he's giving up his body. And he's becoming, instead of being Krishna, he's becoming Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for that. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course. Another one, that in the last sentence of this verse of Janu, the last word, and you told that this is a bhajan. So the translation of that verse is generation. So maybe that's also means that next generations sprout from Rupa and Sanatan.
Yeah. Yeah, and a tree, a Kalpataru tree, the Janu, it's generating that tree, it's fertilizing that tree, it's helping that tree to grow in so many different ways. Yeah,
but it's not like many generations coming.
Yeah, because that tree is going to expand, and then that tree is a tree of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Mm-hmm. And only one last thing, that in the verse, which you mentioned at the beginning, that Rupa and Sanatana is coming like Sanatan Rupa, but in the translation is changed, that Rupa and Sanatana. Do you know why the translator?
I think probably, and I was marking it also when I was speaking about it. I had a hard time saying Sanatan Rupa. I always want to say Rupa Sanatan. We always say Rupa Sanatan. Now, in light of the fact that Sanatan Goswami is the older brother, and definitely in light of the fact that Rupa Goswami gets pleasure by Sanatan being glorified, why do we so often say Rupa Sanatan? Well, first of all, because Kaviraj Goswami has given us that. He's indicated that although Sanatan Goswami is the older brother, Rupa Goswami, he's our Sampradaya Acharya, and we focus on him. So I think it was an unconscious thing of the translator to translate it in that way, but kind of a sweet and interesting thought. I was appreciating something you were saying a minute ago, Gauri Nitai Prabhu, about how important it is just to come together and have these topics. And I've been reading some of Srila Sri Ramaraj's comments about things, and today I also was reading some things about Parthasarathi Maharaj's personal bhajan, some of his realizations, amazing realizations about bhajan and how important it is to be focused and cut everything else off. And I was thinking about how this is our process. We come together and we do it, but why is it then that we're not getting the fruits of these things? So Narottam Das Thakur is explaining all this to us in Prema-bhakti-candrika. In the beginning, he's telling us this is what you should do. And he's still telling us that right now. First of all, you should worship Gurudev, then you should worship all the Vaishnavas, especially you should worship Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, and then he'll go on to speak about Mahaprabhu and his associates and Radha Krishna, etc. But then later on, he'll also go on to explain that Karmi Gyani Mitya Bhakta Nahavitati Anurakta. He'll go on to speak about different problems in our bhajan. So these problems basically are there just when we don't focus on what we're supposed to do. And by telling us this thing, Karmi Gyani Mitya Bhakta Nahabitati Anurakta. Anurakta, don't be attached to the Karmis, the Gyanis, and the Mitya Bhaktas, the false devotees. Because if you do that, it means you're not focused on what we're supposed to be focused on. So we've gotten instructions from our Gurudev. You focus on chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, you offer prasadam to Krishna, you worship the Lord, you bow down, you do different services. And he's given us so many positive things. Within those positive injunctions is also some negative sense in the idea that we should not do other things. And if we start doing other things, and especially if we start focusing on, I have to smash the karmis, the gyanis, and especially those Mitya Bhakti rascals, those false devotees, then it means I can't really do bhajan. And we're not going to really have a sangha. So as you were saying, Gauri Nitai Prabhu, so many devotees, they've heard about rasa, but it doesn't go very much further. Because we read, okay, I'm supposed to read Nectar Devotion, I understand there's 5 rasas, and we rattle them off like this, and this, but we can't go any further than that because we haven't avoided these negative things. That's my reflection. Yeah,
yes, for that, I remember that Raghunath Das Goswami has these Sva-niyama dasa, and in that, in the first verse, he takes a vow that he will be very kind to everyone, not smashing anyone. So I think that's mood we need to learn, to be kind with everyone.
Thank you. That's a beautiful note to finish on. Where's the hope for me if I can't show mercy to others? And really, there's no one up to Jagai and Madhi. And Jagai and Madhi were the worst child molesters in the history of the world. They did so many terrible things, but Nitai was willing to show mercy to them also. So we should, but in Jagai and Madhi, someone may say, but Jagai and Madhi, they came around and they took a vow, I'm never going to do this again. Because they took that vow, the devotees associated with them. But we understand from the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam that if someone has envy, then we just practice upeksha, we neglect them. But it doesn't mean that we hate them. We see whatever good qualities they have, and we want to encourage those things. And all these bad things, as the saying goes in the West, every saint has a history, and every sinner has a future. So we should always remember that. Thank you, Prabhu. Jaigor, do you want to share something?
Prabhu, I like the point that you just brought up, is that the problems arise by not being focused on what we're supposed to do. I really like that. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. That, if we're focused on our bhajan and the instructions that Guru has given us, then we won't have time or desire to do these things that are antithetical to our spiritual practice. So I like that point. I also I had some questions, but the devotees asked them all.
Okay. Anyways, where are you guys at? It looks like some Gobra on the walls behind you.
Yeah, we're in Radha Jiva's old room. We're at the farm.
You took over Radha Jivan Prabhu's place when he's not there, huh?
Oh, Srila Rupa, that's the first thing that he did when he came back home. He said, "This is my room now."
Oh, really? Wow. Siddha Hari Prabhu, do you want to share anything? Nice to see you, Prabhuji. Thank you for taking part today.
Well, thank you for having me here, Prabhu. I'm looking forward to it the whole week, an opportunity to hear Katha in a sweet sangha, and it's so much relishable. I wish I could go on and on for many hours with you. I'm sure you can, if you're merciful someday, but at least today, these many hours are very nice. I was reading the other day, I'm reading Nectar of Devotion, and I was reading, the Southern Ocean. In the Southern Ocean, it begins with the glorification verse where Rupa Goswami is glorifying Sanatan Goswami before he begins that ocean also. And there, the commentators mentioned that that's glorification of Sanatan also applies to Krishna, because he's also eternally famous. That. And they're saying that verse can apply for both the places. But here, in this commentary here, it seems more appropriate that that verse applies to Sanatana Goswami, because Rupa Goswami treats Sanatana Goswami as his spiritual master, and it makes sense that he's offering, before delving into these topics of Rasa Shastra, to again offer obeisances to Sanatana Goswami. Like it's in the middle of the book, the Southern Ocean. And I also really appreciate your embellishing this point regarding how they are the sthanu, how they're the pillars of vaishnava-rasa. I really appreciate how you went to that whole gradation of the rasa tattva and discussed those qualities and how they are there, how they're enveloped in the vaishnava-rasa. And since they are the pillars or the embodiment of the vaishnava-rasa, so they are carrying all those qualities for Krishna within themselves. And then I was wondering that when it's mentioned that they're the pillars of the embodiment of vaishnava-rasa, is Narottam Das Thakur alluding to them being specifically dasis, palya dasis? That's why he's calling them there specifically, or is it because of their writings, which discuss Shringar Rasa in detail so much?
Both.
What do you think is the main reason?
Srila Caitanya-caritāmṛta comments like that. He's indicating their position is Rupa Manjari and Labanga Manjari, but also by their writings. They've done that thing in both ways. A question often arises, which we haven't brought up, but a question often arises in our line. What about Sakya Ras and Vatsalya Ras? I mean, nobody ever speaks about Dasya Ras. But what about the cowherd boys? What about Vatsalya Priti? Isn't that also there in Gaudiya Vaishnavism? And honestly speaking, if you study the history of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, you can find a few examples of Vatsalya Priti, but very, very few. And Sakya Ras, you find a few more. But Fakir Mahaprabhu once commented to me, I mentioned this in one of our previous sessions, that he studied, for one of his theses, he'd gone and studied with all the different paribars, different lines of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And he found that within those Sakya lines, there are a few Sakya lines coming from Gauridas Pandit and others, they're all meditating on Manjari Bhav also. It's an interesting thing. So I was just thinking as you were speaking about how in this mādhurya-rasa, all the different qualities are there. So if someone is attracted by Dasya Ras or Sakya Ras or Vatsalya Priti, Rupa Manjari can also nourish that. Whereas the cowherd boys can't nourish Vatsalya Priti. They can't help that thing because they don't have all the qualities that Vatsalya Priti does. But in mādhurya-rasa, all the different qualities are there, so they can nourish all the different rasas. And they may sometimes appear to someone to be, well, my Gurudev is a cowherd boy, because that's what they're nourishing in you, in that particular conception. But they may be something much, much more than that. And there's a controversy about that, which is a useless, kind of silly controversy, but to touch on it, about Srila Prabhupada. Is Prabhupada a cowherd boy? Is Prabhupada actually a gopi manjari? And my Guru Maharaj, he commented that you should realize it. What's the point of arguing about it? It has no meaning. On the other hand, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he commented in one place that Gurudev, Sri Guru, is that person that all the different rasas, they see him in that particular rasa. But to say that indicates that Gurudev must be a mādhurya-rasa. And so he can nourish Sakya-rasa, he can nourish Dasya-rasa, he can nourish Vatsalya-rasa like that.
Thank you for that comment, Babu. I had two other questions also. I'm not sure if you have time for that to follow up.
Let's just see.
One is something which is on my mind for some time. It was mentioned in one of the sections which you asked us to read. When it was being asked that how do Rupa and Sanatan Goswami spend their lives? It was mentioned they spend their lives by always remembering the pastimes of Radha Krishna and always engaging in Sankirtan, always engaging in chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. And notice this word Sankirtan, it comes up in our Shastra a number of times. Sometimes often it's translated as congregational chanting. But I was looking at this commentary on the Shikshashtakam verse by Srila Bhakti-candrika Thakur, somebody shared, and there he defines Sankirtana as perfect chanting. There's no mention at all of it being a congregational chanting. I also noticed in CC number of places when Mahaprabhu is chanting Japa, even that also is the Bengali word used there is Sankirtan. So I was thinking, this is a little bit like a side topic. I'm not sure if you would like to comment on this. Maybe you can take later, or you can do some other day. But this topic of Sankirtan, like when we hear that we should engage in Sankirtan, that's a process, or Kirtan is a process for this age, it gets confusing. Or sometimes devotees say that what's needed is we all go out on and do Kirtan outside in a group. That's the process given by Mahaprabhu. There sometimes we hear the process is loud chanting and hearing of loud chanting of Krishna's name, form, and qualities. That's called Kirtan or Sankirtan, depending on how, if it's done perfectly. So it's a little bit confusing in my mind these days. I've been meditating on that, and I wanted to hear from you if you have time. Or
yeah, I can touch on it real quick. Jiva Goswami in Bhakti Sandarbha, he defines Sankirtan as Samyak Kirtan. And that's where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta gets it. Samyak means complete. And complete means that is done with a group. That's one definition of complete. But another definition is that is done perfectly. Another definition is that is prema, that is done with love. This is what Jiva Goswami says. That's proper kirtan. So there's an internal and an external understanding of it. And Srila Prabhupada, to attract mercy to us, perhaps maybe even more so than the outer people, he would send the devotees out to do Harinam, to do Sankirtan, and engaging us in that way to help push on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. And by doing so, we're attracting the attention of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of his associates. We're attracting their mercy, that they're going out and they're doing this thing, and they're giving so much mercy to us. But as we've been speaking in some of our classes recently on embankment of separation, Mahaprabhu's movement began behind closed doors and finished behind closed doors. It began in Srivastava, behind closed doors, and it was closed to everyone, even the milk-drinking brahmachari, who, like, we would make him the next acharya after Prabhupada. If he joined the day, he'd be like the most pure person in the whole society. He wasn't allowed. Mahaprabhu said, what is this milk drinking? Even babies drink milk also, right? So that's all they're taking. They're not qualified for this. So that there was some rule who can enter, and even so many different persons weren't able to enter. And then we hear the same thing about the Gambhira again at the end. And in between, we hear about so many massive kirtans that are going on. So that we see the kirtan, two things were being done. One is for prachar meaning sharing. I don't like the word translation preaching, but sharing this ecstasy with other people. And secondly, internal kirtan, and that's how it began. If it hadn't, that feeling hadn't been contained, it hadn't been obtained in those kirtans of Sriva Sangha, what are they going to carry outside to everybody else? It's just some external thing. We have our song that we sing, the what do you call them? What's the name of that group? The Salvation Army. I don't know. They don't do it very much in America anymore. But when I was a boy, the Salvation Army used to march, and they'd have drums and cymbals, and they'd play some music, and that was like kirtan. The Salvation Army is doing some kind of kirtan, but it's just a formal religious thing. And we can also get into the same kind of thing, or we can start be thinking, I'm a great musician, like that, and that's the purpose of the kirtan. We're going to attract people because we're such great musicians. But the purpose is we first have to feel something, and that's something which should be done behind closed doors. That's samyak, that's real kirtan. Sankirtan, not just kirtan, but complete kirtan, perfect kirtan.
I love that. First one should, we should try to feel something in the heart, and then Sankirtan being the process of outpouring of the heart, which is the heart is brimming with the realization, and that's coming out. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it.
That's Rupa Goswami defines Mahaprabhu's movement in the beginning of his Laghu Bhagavatamrita with the word Sri Caitanya Mukho Udgirna. Sri Caitanya Mukho Udgirna Hare Krishna Iti Varnika Majayante Jagat Premi Vijayante Tadava. Speaking about how he gave the Hare Krishna mantra to everyone, but he says Sri Caitanya Mukha Udgirna. Mukha Udgirna. That from his mouth, Mukha Udgirna, like a volcano or like an explosion, vomiting. This Hare Krishna mantra was exploding out, and that's how this movement is meant to be given, meant to be practiced.
Thank you, Prabhu. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And let's see if Leela Purushottam Prabhu has some wise words he can share with us.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
You're not having to like change diapers or run around with kids right now or anything?
No. The older one is next door, and the younger one is now at the mother's house. So they will come later.
I was just appreciating your shared your ecstasies about the glories of taking care of children.
That would be a not so inspiring, probably. You discussed so many points with devotees. It was so wonderful. Actually, on the beginning, I really liked your elaboration on that word kūpa with so many meanings. It was really nice. Like with different translations connecting to different meanings. I really like that. And then I just wanted to confirm for myself if I got it right, because even in the purport by Vishwanath Chakravarti, it doesn't specifically mentions that, but if I looked at that phrase Yugala Ujvala Rasa Tanu, and if we want to bring out from it the Manjari Bhav, then I was thinking that is it correct that this word Yugal is important there? That do I understand it right?
Yeah, the word Yugal, I was thinking about that. I didn't mention it. Thank you for bringing it up. The word Yugal could be translated, used in two different ways here. That Yugala means two, so it could be referring to Sanatan and Rupa Goswami. Or Yugala Ujjvala Rasa can be referring to Radha and Krishna.
Yeah, and in that sense, it would, in a sense, it would exclude the like Abhiman of Sakis, that they can satisfy Krishna by themselves, but the Manjaris are specifically concerned about Radha Krishna Yugal, that they want to have the divine couple together. Yes, is it?
Yeah. There's a just like in this world, I know so many people, and especially young girls. My God, you have a few of those around you. When they get around about 12 to 14 or 16 years old, all they're just constantly doing, they just want to be matchmakers. They just want to, they're just talking about, it'd be so good if so and so were to get together with her, and they'd be a really good couple, and that propensity is natural. And that propensity, that's a perverted reflection that we see in the spiritual world amongst the manjaris, and in a subtle, indirect way amongst all the residents of Vrindavan. And it goes back to the point we were making earlier about how it's mādhurya-rasa. It's a place of mādhurya-rasa. Everything is permeating with mādhurya-rasa there. And even Mother Yashoda, when Radha and Krishna, if Radharani is angry with Krishna, everyone in Braj becomes depressed. Even they don't know why. But they all become depressed because Radha and Krishna are not together. And Mother Yashoda, she's helping in her indirect way to bring Radha and Krishna together. And all the residents of Vrindavan, including Jatila and Kutila and the cowherd boys and Ratak and Patrak, the servants who are dressing Krishna in a way that attracts Radharani. And everybody is contributing in Braj to bringing Radha and Krishna together, but not as consciously, not as enthusiastically as the manjaris, who are the topmost.
Under the influence of Yoga Maya. Oh, that's great. Because I was thinking, I usually understood when you were answering to Gornitai Prabhu on this topic, I always understood this term Madhura-mayi Lila Stan or Dham, referring to Vrindavan Vraja as a contrast to the Aishwarya. Like in Vrindavan, the predominating is the sweetness, confidentiality, like that. Not exactly in Mādhurya-rasa, in like Shringaras, in Ujjvala-ras, but rather to specify the sweetness, the intimacy, and like that.
But then we have to ask where does that sweetness come from?
Yeah. no, because you were so convincing about that point that it makes it even sweeter, actually, if we consider that that the whole Vraja actually contributes to Radha Krishna Yugal ultimately, but probably from the platform of the other rasas, not so knowingly as you mentioned now, not so, yeah.
I hope, by the blessings of the devotees, I hope sometime in the next year or something, I don't know, things aren't going so fast for us right now with our publishing work. They're going, but I'm mostly working on embankment of separation and redoing things we've already done. New books are not really being worked on right now. There's a few things. One of them is by Dr. Vilas of Manohar Das. You've heard me speak some about that before. And by Dr. Vilas, one of the amazing things that he contributes in there is, and he shows in such a shastric way, is the contribution of Radharani's Radharani's in-laws, Jatila and Kutila, and how actually they're assisting Radha and Krishna's rasa, and actually how they're great devotees of Radha and Krishna, but in a very peculiar kind of way. They're not demons, they're not the bad guys. We're so eager to always line up, the good guys and the bad guys, and you're the bad guys. But he said, actually, good guys, and even them, their whole purpose, their happiness is actually bringing Radha and Krishna together in a kind of deep way by trying to keep them apart, but then it adds some drama to things.
Yeah. Actually, just recently we were discussing with a few devotees that it's kind of I had a dilemma about it, actually, like how does the devotees who focus on the cultivation of any other rasa than mādhurya-rasa, like let's say Sakya-rasa or Vatsalya-rasa. I mean, specifically we discuss it within the context of ISKCON and the Diksha mantras that we are getting from our spiritual masters. And I was always like thinking like, how does these devotees, like with what conception they meditate on Kama Gayatri mantra? You know, they're desiring to nourish, cherish the Sakyarati, and all of a sudden you're you know, Kamadevaya and Pushpabanaya. And actually, that what you mentioned now, that actually everyone and everything in Vraja contributes to Radha Krishna Yugal, to the seva of the divine couple, to bring them together or separate them, but to nourish their rasa, their exchanges. So that would be that was the only possible outcome for me, that could be the meditation, even if I cherish the other aspiration, then it could I could meditate like, anyway, the ultimate goal of everything is to bring Radha and Krishna together, even through my Sakya Rasa, actually, my engagement in Sakya Rasa.
And that would make sense too. Why Fakir Mahmud said that we found that they're also practicing Manjari Bhav Sadhana in the line of Glories Pandit and these Sakya Rasa, also meditating, because they see that that's the topmost thing.
Because otherwise, I really had a doubt, like those devotees, they have to become like schizophrenic, you know, like they cherish some aspirations deep within their hearts, and they are supposed to meditate on such a straightforward like mantra contemplation of Kama Gayatri.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that I've researched this thing so super deeply. I certainly can't say that I've realized it. But from what little I've seen is, where is the Sakya Ras, or what to speak of Vatsalya Ras, lines in Gaudiya Vaishnavism? And if someone's really into that, good luck. There's a little something about the cowherd boys, but it's really the tradition, as I said, they're practicing Manjari Bhav Sadhana also.
Yeah. I have few thoughts on it, actually. Maybe if you allow me, because I'm quite not concerned. I'm quite like puzzled. How is it that within the context of our being Rupanugas, even by the order of Srila Prabhupada, he named us many times Rupanugas. So how is it that nowadays in ISKCON so many devotees just like walk around claiming like, oh, I'm into worship of Krishna Balaram, and then I aspire for Sakya Rasa and like this. Or
some that they may say some just aspire for Vanashram Rasa.
Yeah. No, but what I was thinking seriously, that in most of the cases, actually, I have a serious doubt that those devotees, they're just afraid of their own karma, of their own lust. And because they project their own lust onto the mādhurya-rasa, they're rather scared away and have a tendency to see the Sakya Rasa as a like easier goal in a way, you know, like cheaper. That's not so expensive to purchase in a sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're not so, they're afraid of these other things. And therefore, Narottam Das Thakur, he says, again, avidya parijay. that if we take shelter of the Vaishnavas in a proper way, and then he goes on to explain that that means Jai Sanatan Rupa, that if we take shelter of the Vaishnavas in a proper way under the guidance of the 6 Goswamis, then we'll drive away all types of ignorance. And one of those types of ignorance may be that we put our subtle understanding on our Swarup and on our goal.
Yeah.
It's actually a very simple thing. We should just do what Guru's given us, and that'll manifest our desire, our Sthayi Bhav, and so many higher things will manifest at a natural time. And devotees, if they're on a certain platform and their Guru tells them you focus on Varnashram Dharma, for example, and practice bhakti, I hope he tells them that also, practice bhakti and do Varnashram Dharma, then they can do that. They can focus on that thing. But by practicing bhakti continually, sooner or later, the understanding is going to be they're going to be purified, and they're going to have some understanding, some inclination towards something else.
Yeah.
And finish first.
Yeah. But then I really liked your last comments to like what you mentioned that
Siddha
Siddha Prabhu, sorry. The Rupa Manjari can nourish all the rasas. In that sense, like how we were reading the development of the rasas, and that all the rasas, all the previous rasas are the parts of the highest rasa of mādhurya-rasa. So in that sense, I like that logic, and that Rupa Manjari being the representative of the topmost mādhurya-rasa, so that from that standpoint he has Rupa Goswami or Rupa Manjari, he has like the all the facilities to nourish all the other rasas, because it contains all the bhavas, all the items of other rasas. So that was nice. Yeah, and then but that would be difficult. I was that's still my doubt when we say that our movement started behind the closed doors. And then if we create a parallel to what's the common practice for the new devotees, are we allowed at all for that period behind the doors? Or the first day, or the first day we join, we are sent with the books out or on the Harinam without having something substantial actually. So what would be how to think about that period of Srivas Angan for the newcomer devotees?
Shiva Maharaj today sent me I asked him for some advice about writing, and he sent me an interesting document, basically speaking about how he approaches making a book. And he first of all wants to figure out who is his audience, and then what does he want to accomplish, and he collects all the information, and he goes through it and sifts through things and synthesizes it. So we do that also with new devotees. We want to talk to people privately. Even everybody in the temples, we like to talk to someone privately and tell them something deeper, something more. Just the problem is that private time, we're a little nervous about it, we're unsure about it, perhaps sometimes because as individuals, maybe we don't have so much to offer.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing really that we know to offer is just going out and chanting on the street and doing Harinam, which is great. And of course, there may be a very, very deep realization of that. But sometimes our realization is not so deep, and that's just all that we know. I remember one temple president once told me, he said, anyway, Prabhu, we don't think about prema. We're not after prema. He said, Prabhupada said we should just work hard. That was his comment. I was very depressed. He really meant that. So, and I don't mean to slight him. He's a wonderful devotee. But maybe that's the extent of his realization, is to work hard. And so definitely he'll want to talk to people privately, when they first come something, you want to get them away from their parents and get them away from his girlfriend and whatever, and talk to them something and convince them to move into the ashram, maybe, whatever you do. But after that, I find so much of the time there's no more private talks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just now, Prabhu, we just got to go out and work, and there's no time for anybody at all. And devotees are starting to realize this is a serious problem all over the world. We need to have more intimate time. We need to build communities. And right now, everybody's in a big uproar about child molestation and this and that and the other. But one thing which I think I'm already starting to see now, the next wave is going to be devotees are realizing, look, you can't impose your values on other people. Someone loves a particular person as their guru, and that's their realization. You may not like that person, but you have no right to try to force someone else on it. And that's a very, very important thing. And if we're talking about molestation and abuse of people, and you know, we got to stop these abusers, and you should all think the way that I do. And XYZ persons are all bad because you're an abuser. You're being an abuser because you're demanding that everybody else do the same thing. And that kind of mentality, ultimately, I'm just predicting it's not going to be very satisfying or appealing to devotees who are practicing Mahaprabhu's line of Sankirtan, of chanting all the names. They're not going to be it's not going to be satisfying to the heart.
That's wow. So, but that means that we could interpret the Shrivas Angan Leela with the, how would we call it, like private, personal, quality time in the association of the advanced Vaishnava, right? That would be what would substantiate the
Another point is there too that you can only get something that you have money to pay for.
Mm-hmm.
I want to buy a Rolls Royce car, but I've only got $1,000, and I'm going to buy some old junky car, secondhand car. That's all that I can do. So it depends on how much wealth we have. We should understand these things. We want higher association. We want something intimate, but are we ready to pay for that? Are we? Mm-hmm. And how do we pay for it? With our sincerity, with our intensity. Mm-hmm. And I'm convinced, I've seen that if we have that sincerity, we have that intensity, then Krishna will send someone. And even if he sends new people, they're going to be amazing new people. And they're going to have some very deep realizations and will be very satisfied in their association. So really, there's no problem. The only lacking is with us. Okay?
Yeah, it's certainly something to digest.
I think Krishna Kun wants to share something too. Did you, Krishna Kun?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees.
Can you guys hear her okay? Yes, no? Okay.
Yes, of course they can hear me. I'm right here.
All right. She doesn't want me to show the camera on her.
My heart is a little perturbed because I am so sensitive about not being judgmental of others, especially if their system of deity worship is blessed by their Gurudev. You mentioned this Krishna Balaram worship, and I myself know at least 2 Vaishnavis, Matajis, who have some particular attraction to Krishna Balaram. And at least one of them, I know that their Gurudev told them to do certain things for Krishna Balaram. And with the other one, I heard it from her own mouth. I know that the goal is not Krishna Balaram, but rather Shyam. But I'm so attracted to him, and he's helping me so much. This is my doorway. And I just feel that we can't judge Vaishnavas by what we know of them and of their attractions and of their worship. Like I understood what you were getting at, I think I understood.
Well, if we equate discussion of different levels of rasa to judgmentalism, then we'd have to cut out. We shouldn't read Bhakti-rasa Sindhu or Ujjwala Lamani. We should cut out huge parts of Caitanya-caritāmṛta. There has to be some discussion. And if we speak about the position of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, then we have to speak about some other position. And I appreciate your point that we should be very careful and not be proud and think, oh, I'm some special person. I've got this higher thing. We should be very careful not to do that. But at the same time, we can't compromise.
No, we can't compromise.
What
I guess what I was feeling is this, that we do not want to impose our mundane desire to be the best or to be the highest or to belong to the highest rasa on our spiritual path and on judging others' spiritual path. Mm-hmm. I guess just something didn't sit right with my heart. I just wanted to bring out this point, not that I'm making it, like what you said, that's just Siddhanta. That's a different thing.
Yeah. But we should try to understand it in a practical way and also realize it. But you're making a good point. Any type of knowledge can come with pride also. Yeah. When someone starts to learn to be a bricklayer, it sounds like a simple thing, laying bricks, but Jai Guru, I think he may know something about laying bricks, I don't know. But it's actually quite a scientific thing. And if you know how to be a really good bricklayer, you can make a lot of money, you can do something, and maybe you become proud that these other guys are just playing with Legos. They don't really know the real deal. I know how to do things. Any type of knowledge can bring pride. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement is not about Gyan, it's about Vigyan. And therefore we're stressing this thing that we may theoretically understand so much, and that's okay. But it's just theoretical. We should chant, and by chanting, we'll realize our Sthayi Bhava. And in the meantime, even if it's artificial, we should be respectful to everyone.
I heard from disciples of Srila Prabhupada, two Matajis, that Prabhupada told them to pray to Balaram because he is the older brother, Dauji, and he takes care of the women in the family. And I know myself that for a service situation in this world, I used to pray to
well, that's another thing too. In the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's not that Mahaprabhu himself, he's coming to taste, as we were mentioning, this Manjari Bhav and Radha Radhi's movement, but he's offering obeisances to deities of Balaram and Varaha, Matsyakurma, and Nrsimha, and crying in ecstasy when he sees them. He's offering obeisances to Lord Shiva and to Durga, different personalities, and giving respect to them because he sees them in connection with this other thing.
Yeah, this is
so
what was
we should learn like that too.
I wanted to ask another thing.
Okay.
You had a whole discussion about madhurya and this particular phrase, which is sweetness and conjugal mellow, both, as I understood. And I somehow, maybe I misunderstand something, so I just wanted to check something with you. From Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's explanation about what it means that Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes are sweet, madhurya, my understanding was that what he was getting at, Vishwanath Chakravarti did, is that when Krishna's being God doesn't affect the knowledge of Krishna's godness, doesn't affect the relationships that he has with the Brijbasis, that is madhurya. And then that's why when Mother Yashoda says, oh, how cute it is that the demigods are throwing flowers at Krishna after he killed the demon. These kind of things, this is what what sweetness means. It's not a cutie kind of thing. It's not a, and it's not, my understanding was that it's not necessarily the conjugal mellow. It's this particular point.
Well, it's mamata. And when mamata adhika, as Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami describes, in each one of the different rasas as it progresses, when that mamata increases, then it goes to a higher platform. So the last limit of that mamata is in mādhurya-rasa. And so that mādhurya-rasa can nourish and does nourish all the different rasas.
I love that.
And that's why parakya-rasa, what is it, the song Jai Radha Jai Krishna Jai Vrindavan finishes with parakya-rasa, bhavi bhajeti prachar. This is the prachar of Braj, this parakya-rasa.
Oh, yeah, that's really nice. I also like this point that the spiritual master can relish different rasas of different disciples. It means that he is necessarily in mādhurya-rasa, otherwise he could not have access to all of the other
It's also
rasas.
significant too. It's not that Lalita and Vishaka are running around saying, "Oh, Sridham and Subha, you guys are just in Sakya Ras. You guys should wake up and get to Mādhurya Ras. Oh, Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, you guys are on a lesser platform." Nobody in Braj is thinking like that. Everybody's loving each other completely, and Lalita and Vishaka are so happy because they're seeing directly or indirectly, they're seeing how Mother Yashoda is contributing to the Mādhurya-rasa, and how Sridham and Subal and Madhu Mangal and the boys are contributing in different ways, and Ratak and Patrak, and how they're contributing, and everybody in Braj is contributing. They're in ecstasy with that. So this negative kind of understanding is not there in Braj at all. Okay?
One more thing, which is a completely, it's a different level, but about this comment from this senior person, that we don't think about prema, we just work hard. And that sounds like pretty heavy. But at the same time, what if somebody is just so sold out to Srila Prabhupada that he's not just working hard, he's working hard for Srila Prabhupada. Well, and then it's a whole different...
See, where does that senior devotee get that idea from? Probably it's coming from Jayananda. When someone asked Jayananda Prabhu one time, how did you become so advanced? He said, "I don't know, Prabhu, I'm just too busy working." And Jayananda, I don't think he was thinking about prema and this and that. He's acting on the platform of prema.
And this was my point, that what if somebody is so sold out to their spiritual master that yes, he's working hard, but after all, we are not going to be sadhana siddhas. We want to show that we would like this thing very much. We want to show our eagerness.
Well, two things can be said in that regard. One is that we should be patient, and we shouldn't be sahajis, and we should just be simple, and we should just work hard and have faith in Prabhupada. But the second thing is we should read Prabhupada's books.
That's part of working hard. That's the first service here.
Yeah. And if we read Prabhupada's books, if we sing Prema-bhakti-candrika, which is what I mentioned to him when the senior devotee said that to me. I said, "Well, gosh, I don't know. I sing every day Prema-bhakti-candrika, and I sing Sri Radha Govinda Premi." And I said, "Sounds pretty good to me." I think I'd like that. And he kind of became quiet. He didn't know what to say. And I felt a little bad. I wasn't trying to put him in his place or something. I was just being simple and just straightforward.
My point was that it's not just the practice, it's whom we are getting the mercy from, and to whom we want to show by our practice.
Yeah, and part of our respect and love for different persons is we encourage them in their particular rasa, in their particular way, in their particular understanding. Yeah, man, just work hard. Maybe if I met him now, I might tell him, "Yeah, that's great. You're right. We should just work hard." And you can encourage him, and that we can encourage them. We don't want to discourage anybody. That's a higher understanding. At that time, I can't say that I had much of an understanding. I had some faith in Prema-bhakti-candrika and Sri Radha Govinda Premi. It sounded good to me. I was starting to ask questions about things.
Yeah.
And that's all. Okay? Lila Purushottam was exploding. He had something else to say.
I just something burning. just came to my mind as a comment to this, like, "Oh, we don't care for prema," and then this attitude, which I give full credit to Krishna Kund Mataji's contribution to rather giving a credit of doubt of being like purely motivated on the service to Gurudev like that. But what comes to my mind is that just out of the definition of sadhana bhakti, kriti sadhya bhavat sadhya sadhasya sadhana abhida, it says it must be oriented for bhava. It must be focused on bhava. Then it is sadhana. Because otherwise you can do, we can see that many of our activities within the sadhana are in a way many ordinary activities. And if there wouldn't be behind them the conception that with this activity, I want to please Krishna, I want to achieve bhava, I want to fall in love with Krishna, then it would be just ordinary activity. It wouldn't be bhakti sadhana. That's my thoughts on that we shouldn't neglect prayojan tattva. We should know that our sadhana is sadhana by our focusing to achieve love of Krishna.
Sometimes we mistake having some empirical information to being bhakti. I have some, and that information just makes us proud. If there's no bhav, if we're not practicing something, we start thinking, yes, I'm reading Govinda Lilamrita. And what are you guys talking about? Prabhupada's a cowherd boy. You're in Maya, you're this and that, and I know this higher thing. All kinds of really strange conversations start coming up. But if someone's actually on the platform of bhav, then you'll see they'll just be quiet. Because it's such a personal, private thing. That's a great point.
Yes.
Okay, so we should finish now. Thank you all very much. And Gauri Thai Prabhu, please get some rest. My God, it's like really too late there right now. I feel terrible. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samavita Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Go Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. Vancha Kalpa Vidubhishcha. Kūpa Sindhu Bhava Cha Patitanam Pavani Bhyo Vaishnava Bhyo Namo Namaha Nanda Kodi Vaishnava.